Ah, fantastic. Okay, welcome everyone to our workshop of how to change your relationship with food. And I wanted to start this with a quote from Thomas Jefferson, who said, "If you want something you've never had before, you must be willing to do something you've never done," which I think is such a beautiful thing when we're talking about our relationship with food. It just comes down to being willing to do something different. So we've got a lot to cover. We're going to be going through this in 30 minutes today. I wanted to keep it super punchy. So the plan for today, so normally when I run these sessions, I like to keep it super interactive and I take questions on the fly. But since we've got a lot to cover in a short amount of time today, Claire's joining from Cornwall, beautiful. So I'll just ask you to save your questions till the end, and we can go over time if we need to with the questions, but I want to get through everything so that we can just keep it to time today. Okay, so plan is, I'll just do a super quick introduction about myself for those of you who aren't so familiar with me. And then we're going to talk about the 3 different types of relationship with food that are possible. Then we're going to actually do a magic wand exercise. So you're going to need to write something for that. So if you haven't got if you write on your computer, great. If you want a notebook or a pen, you might want to grab that now. So you've got that ready for the exercise. Then we're going to talk about the one sneaky thing that's holding you back from having the relationship with food that you really want. And then we'll talk about so the thing that's holding you back, and then we'll look at the 2 essential skills to have that naturally healthy relationship with food. And then we'll look at the easiest way to take your first baby step. And that'll be it. So that's super quick intro. So the most important thing that I think you should know about me is that I'm huge food lover. I always have been. I love cooking. I love food. I like all the things about like writing about food. I like taking photos of food. I like eating, going to restaurants. I love traveling for food. I like shopping for food, all the things. And so I used to be a food science. I studied food science at university, worked in the food industry for many years. And then I had a career change where I was a winemaker for about 5 years. But now I'm a health coach and I'm also an author. So I've got a cookbook called 5 Ingredients, 10 Minutes. And in terms of my relationship with food, like I was never super overweight, but my relationship with food was very struggled. It was such an effort and it was very struggled. It was really it was like lots of pain, and it wasn't peaceful at all until about 3 years ago, when I learned to like this skill of learning to listen to my tummy, which is like and listening to my body, which is something that we're going to talk about soon. So now like it's really easy. I'm at my ideal weight. It's not a struggle. I get to enjoy all the food I love. It's so fun, and I love helping other people get to this like really beautiful place as well. So that's me. So yes, when I studied food science, I did study nutrition, and I've got a certification in health coaching as well. So that's me. So now let's talk about the 3 types of relationship with food that are possible. And the reason I wanted to do this is that I think it's important so that you can identify like exactly where you are now, and also like where you'd like to get to. So that's why I thought I would cover this first. So there's the three phases, or 3 different types of relationship with food. First one is I call like the don't care or the random phase. Next one's called the diet mentality. And then the third one I call naturally healthy. So when we think if we look at in detail at the first one, that I don't care, that random, when you're in that random place. So when you're there, you're just eating whatever. You're like, see a donut, eat the donut. Like you're not intentional at all. And what happens in you in that like don't care random phase is that you're often like you're overindulging because you're just eating like whatever happens to be in front of you, and then you're like regretting your choices. So you're in that cycle of like overeating and then feeling bad and beating yourself up, and you're not feeling great. Like you generally have low energy. It feels like you're a bit out of control. And it can be a bit scary, and you're kind of in that cycle of like guilt and shame and feeling a lot of regret for your choices. And your weight tends to be erratic or like increasing. So that's that first random I don't care phase. And actually, as we're going through these, I want you to think about like, where are you at now? Just like be really honest with yourself. Like, and I'll get you to share in the chat when we go through them all. So the next phase, so that there's the random phase, we're just eating randomly. The next phase is like the diet mentality phase. And when you're in diet mode, you know what that's like. Like there's a lot of restriction and there's rules, depending on what diet you're following. Like it could be keto where there's no carbs. It could be like you're vegan, like you're counting things. There's a lot, like there's a list, generally a list of forbidden foods. Like can't eat, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. There's a lot of moralizing around food, so seeing food as good and bad, and it's really antisocial. Like it's fine when you're eating in your own controlled environment, but if you have to like go to a restaurant or you're traveling, it's like freaks you out because how am I going to stick with my diet rules when I've got these other factors in play? And the other thing with the diet mentality is that there can be a lot of like, you'll like have that like what the hell mentality thing happening on where you'll like mess up for the day. So you ruin the day. So then it's like, oh, well, I'll just eat everything and then I'll start again on Monday, or I'll start again next month, or I'll start again in January. Even though it's like January now, I'll start next year. And the thing is that with the diet mentality, yeah, like you do see results, like you get that rapid weight loss, but then you also get the peaks as well, where when you're in diet mode, the weight's coming off, but then as soon as you go into what the hell mode, the weight comes back on. So it's not sustainable. And even when you do reach your goal, like there's a lot of fear around, oh, the weight's going to come back. And it's just this, like, so that it's not like you ever get to a place of ease with it. It's always on your mind. So that's the second phase. And then the third phase is what I call naturally healthy. And this is like the lesser known phase. A lot of people don't even know that this is possible. And when you're naturally healthy, this is when you get the best of both worlds. So it's when you get to enjoy the food you love, and you also get to feel really good in your body. So it's like you're eating like a normal person. So you just like you eat proper meals, whatever that is for you, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or maybe if you're just like me, just have lunch and dinner and a snack. And you're eating snacks if that feels good for you, but you're intentional about your meal schedule. And you also like you're listening to your body. So rather than having like this external lot of rules and counting calories and just trying to use your brain or someone else to tell you how much food you should be eating, you're just listening to your body and letting your body guide you. So it feels really good. And the cool thing with that is then it doesn't matter. Like if you're going out to a restaurant, your body can guide you and how much to eat. When you're full, you're like, great, stop. If you're traveling, you take your body wherever you go. So it's like you're not like freaking out because it's just this normal natural thing. And the cool thing with this, like when you're in this naturally healthy place, is that you just feel really calm and relaxed around food. So you can plan and look forward to things, like, so you get that anticipation, which is amazing. But there's like, you just feel confident and in control. So, and the thing with when you're naturally healthy, like your weight is either stable, or if you like are losing, like if you have coming out at the beginning, like you are losing weight, but it tends to be very slow. And it's not like 10 pounds by Tuesday kind of thing. But the cool thing is that it's slow, but it's also sustainable. So that you're not doing everything that you're doing when you're naturally healthy, like because you're just like you're eating with ease and you're eating like a normal person. There's no crazy rules that you're following. So there's no you don't have that fear that you're going to gain the weight back, because whatever you're doing as a naturally healthy person, you're willing to keep doing that for the rest of your life, because it's just like normal life, that becomes part of who you are. And so it's this place of ease and joy around food. So you actually get to enjoy the good stuff without the guilt or without the shame, without the regret. And also, like, you eat a reasonable amount. It's like, if you're having ice cream, you have your bowl of ice cream, you love your ice cream, but there's no like desire to go back and like finish like tubs and tubs of the stuff, because you trust, and you have that self-trust, because okay, well, we're going to have ice cream again next week, or we're going to have ice cream again another time. So it's like, it's this place of ease. So I want you to have a think now about like, where are you at now? And just type in the chat and let me know. So like, Are you in that don't care random phase? Are you in like diet mentality phase, or are you naturally healthy, or are you somewhere in between those, or do you flit in between? So Cindy's saying she's in don't care phase. Lynn's diet mentality. Samantha's diet mentality, right? Great. And what the hell? Don't care. Lisa's don't care. Great. So yeah, amazing. Jill's saying very much in between all three. Okay, awesome. Yeah. And and that's the thing, is that you can be in both. And so what we're going to do now, though, is a little magic wand exercise. And the purpose of this is to really like get clear about so this is where you're at now, like where would you like to get to? So grab your notebook or open up a note on your computer. And I want you to think about, like, if we could wave a magic wand, like just suspend your disbelief for the moment, if we could wave a magic wand and anything was possible, like what would your relationship with food look like in 12 months time? So this time next year, January 2024, like what would your relationship, if we could make it, if we could just snap our fingers and we could be there and everything was changed that you wanted it to be changed, like how would your relationship with food be? Like what would you be noticing? And what would be different to now? So I'll just give you a little bit of time, to a couple of minutes, to just write that down. Okay, so maybe like if you want to type in the chat and just share, like what did you write down? Like what would you be noticing? Like if you had this, if your relationship with food was exactly what you wanted it to be, like what would that look like for you? And share in the chat. I'm curious to see what you've come up with. Great. Lynn said, stop thinking about it so much. Yeah. So it's like, doesn't take up all your whole life. It's like you eat at meal times, think about food then, but the rest of your time you can get on with the other things. Cindy's saying, I notice the lifting of a huge background of stress. Yeah. Sandra's saying, eat to fullness mindfully. Yeah. Guilt-free, said Samantha. Yeah. Making healthy choices with ease. Yeah. So it's like the choices that you make feel good. Yeah. Cravings would be gone. Yeah. Eat only when I'm hungry and not for any emotional or coping reasons, right? Roxy said. Yeah. So beautiful. Yeah. Stop unsatisfied. Excitement about eating healthy food. Yes, Samantha. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, it's like you're eating healthy food because you love healthy food, and you're also eating like stuff that's not necessarily healthy, but you're getting both and you're excited about everything you eat. So good. Lynn's saying, know what satisfied looks like. Yeah. Okay. So that's where you'd like to get to. And just keep that in your mind of like, just that it could be possible for you to get to this place. But we're going to look now at like what's holding you back from getting there. And basically, like, there's one sneaky little thing that's holding all of us back from getting whatever it is that we want, and the one sneaky thing that holds us back from changing. And It's not your age, it's not your hormones, it's not your lack of willpower, it's not your genetics, it's not your level of fitness, it's not that you hate exercise, it's not that you love food too much. The really reason is and the reason I know that it's not all those reasons is because there's people who've had those they've had the hormones, they've had the lack of willpower, they've had all those reasons, and they've been able to overcome them. So the only real reason that you aren't able to change, and this applies to anything, like any area of your life that you're not changing, the only real reason is because you don't believe that you can change. And so it's this lack of self-belief. And I'm guilty of it as well, for sure. And Henry Ford has a beautiful quote. He said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right either way. And so that really sums up this self-belief thing. Like, if you don't think that you can do something, then you can't. Like, it doesn't happen. And so how do we overcome this lack of self-belief? And it's really just, first step is deciding to believe in yourself no matter what, and then actually thinking thoughts on purpose to help you change that belief. So this year's my year of self-belief, and the thought that I'm thinking on purpose, there's actually two thoughts I'll share with you that I'm writing in my journal every day. I'm thinking it all the time, is like, I believe in myself, I will succeed. So I'll paste those in the chat. And let's just can't talk and paste at the same time. So that's to everyone. Great. And so what I would recommend doing to help start building this belief in yourself is to start writing that thought down every day. I believe in myself. I believe in myself. And then the second way to build that self-belief is to work with a coach. And as a health coach, like, it really is. And when I've worked with all sorts of coaches. Like, for me, last year, business coach, of course, but I've worked with a sex coach, I've worked with a marriage coach. And really the job of a coach is to hold that belief that you can change for you, and like, be that support network, have that belief for you while you're building the belief in yourself. And the cool thing is that, like, when you work with a coach, like, you'll have like them holding the belief for you, and they also, like, when you work with me, like, I have an actual simple process for you to follow, so you can have me believing in you, and you have that process, so you can trust the process while you're learning to trust yourself. So speaking of process, so it's promised you that I would talk about the two essential skills to become to have a naturally healthy relationship with food, and so that you can like reach and stay at your natural weight with ease. And those two skills are like, I know it seems like that surely there must be more to it, but these two skills are really all it takes. And the first one is making intentional choices, and the second one is listening to your body, like listening to your tummy. So making intentional choices, like, it is quite broad, but what that means is what that actually breaks down to. It's like eating proper meals and snacks rather than like randomly grazing all day. It's like being intentional about your choices. So deciding ahead of time, if you're like, how much you're going, like, if you're having treats, if you're having sugar, if you're having alcohol, if you're having other whatever, potato chips, whatever, that you're like using your brain, like the best part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, to make good decisions around like what you're having and how much you're having. So you're deciding ahead and then you're not using your emotional brain to decide in the moment, because we all know if we're making decisions in the moment about like how much ice cream to have, like, there's always like, oh, we want more ice cream, or we want another glass of wine. Okay, Murphy's saying making decisions is so difficult. Whatever I decide ahead of time, my mind rebels against the latter. Okay, and that's like, and part of making intentional choices is, first of all, like deciding ahead. So the fact that you're deciding ahead is great, Murphy, but then the next part of that skill is learning to coach yourself in the moment, so that your mind, like when your mind rebels, like you're prepared for that, and you have tools to coach yourself and to stick to your choices. And that's a part of, like, that's one of the skills that we'll learn, that I teach people in the Naturally Healthy Club. So that's like the intentional choices. So there's eating proper meals and snacks, deciding ahead around treats and alcohol, and then also being intentional with your thoughts and changing your mindset. And that's where the self-coaching piece comes in, Murphy, to help you stick to those decisions. So like, and again, it's like, and this is part of the building your self-belief, like being intentional about the thoughts that you think about yourself. Because if you're thinking, I'm not going to stick to this choice anyway, then of course you don't stick to the choice. Whereas if you're thinking like, oh, it's going to be better when I stick to my choice, you can coach yourself and change those thoughts. And that really is the key to change. So there's making intentional choices, which is quite a broad bucket. And then there's the other skill, is like this skill of learning to listen to your body. And I know, like, if you think like there's no way, Jules, I could ever learn that. I know I used to be the same, like, and I remember like I tried tried this, like, what's it called? Not intentional eating. Intuitive eating. So I like read a book about that and I tried it, and like, no, it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work for me was because I didn't really believe it would work. And so yes, like this skill, and just, it is possible for you to learn. And I know it's possible because I've figured it out for myself, and also I've taught hundreds of people how to do it as well. And so when you like learn to listen to your tummy, what that looks like is that you stop like micromanaging and weighing stuff and using your brain to decide, and you really learn to like tune in to your internal satiety cues. And the thing is that they are there, like we all have them. It's just that through diet culture and like, media and like counting calories and all these things, we've been taught to override them, but they are still there. And it's just a matter of relearning to tune into them. And like, if I can do this, like you can totally, you will be able to do it as well. Like and it's surprising that when you have that belief that you can do it, and you give it the airtime and the space to learn the skill, it is like you will get there. So I know like that there's, so that it's two skills that we focus on. And I know it seems like a lot, but in the like Naturally Healthy Club, I really break it down into like step by step. So it's like we break it down into like the smallest habits, the tiniest habits, and the mindset changes. And so that it's not overwhelming, like so that it makes it really doable and possible. Okay, Roxy's asked a great question. I'll save that for the end, Roxy. Okay. So, and I promised you, so we're doing well on time, Jules. So I promised you like a clear, actionable first step. So like this is something that you can start today, like that you can do on your own straight away. And so that the super doable first step, and the first baby step to learning those two essential skills, and this helps with both of them, making intentional choices, but really this is really critical in helping you learn to listen to your body. And it also helps you, like there's a side benefit as well, like a side effect, that you actually get to enjoy your food more because you're slowing down. And the way that the actual tiny habit that I encourage you to start with now is just it's really simple, just putting your cutlery down between bites. And the reason for this is that like the slower, like when you're eating really fast, if you're shoveling, like it's the faster you eat, the harder it is to, of course, like pay attention to the food, and the harder it is to like to notice when your body's satisfied. So the more you slow down, the more you'll enjoy your food, but also the easier it is for you to feel and to check in with your tummy. And the concrete habit that we do, the like tiny habit that we start with for that, is just this putting your cutlery down between bites. Or if you're eating a burger, like putting the burger down between bites. Or even like the other night, I was chewing on a like T-bone steak bone, and I was putting the bone down in between bites. so it's a little bit messy, but it's just, it slows you down, because otherwise you can be like, and it's just like that one thing makes a huge difference in how fast you eat and how much you enjoy your food. And so all it is like, you know, whenever you notice that you've got food in your mouth and you're chewing and you've got your cutlery or you're loading up, no, that's not what we're doing. Okay, just put it down. Remind yourself, okay, and it's really, there's no rush, and you can just choose again. And then just whenever you notice, oh yeah, okay, slowing down. And it's like a much nicer way to eat. So that is the first step that I would encourage you to embark on if you want to change your relationship with food. Great. So that's yeah, and that's all I wanted to cover on. So yeah, we've looked at your where you want to get to. We've looked at the three types of relationship with food. So the don't care, the diet mentality, and naturally healthy. We did that magic wand exercise. The sneaky little thing that's holding you back really is that self-belief piece. And then the 2 essential skills to changing and having a healthy relationship with food: first, making intentional choices and learning to coach yourself so that you stick to those choices. And then the second is learning the skill of listening to your tummy. And our first actionable, doable step for that skill is just putting your cutlery down in between bites, and just practicing that and focusing. And that's something that I still do all the time. And I'm actually having a week, like last week I had a week of just focusing and putting my cutlery down just to remind myself to do it, because it's we all can get into that habit of rushing. So what's next? So really encourage you to focus on that self-belief and putting your cutlery down between bites. Oh yeah, so the self-belief thought was, just telling yourself, I believe in myself. Write it on a Post-it note, set a reminder on your phone, get into the habit of thinking that thought. It's going to change your life. And then, so those 2 things, and then putting your cutlery down between bites. And just the thing I wanted to leave you with is that you don't have to do this on your own. So if you want to be supported to learn these 2 essential skills of making intentional choices and listening to your body, then you can apply for the Naturally Healthy Club. So I'll just put the link to the invitation page. I'll just put that in the chat there. So if you want to check it out. And so with the Naturally Healthy Club, I'll guide you through the simple process so that you can trust the process while you're learning to trust yourself. And also, when you work with me, I only work with people that I know I can help. So you'll have me believing in you while you're building that belief in yourself. And it's really fun, and I would love to be your coach. And if you're not sure that you can change, the thing that I want to really impress on you is that all you really need right now, you don't need to have to know how to do it. If you want to change, if you want to become that person that you just wrote about in that magic wand exercise, all you need is the desire to change. You just have to want it. And then the first step is making a decision that you're going to go for it. And then I can take care of the rest and really guide you and hold your hand through that process. And what else? The first step is to decide. So if you're not sure, just put in an application for the Naturally Healthy Club anyway, and we can set up some time to chat about whether it would be a good fit for you. And I have that application process to make sure that, because it won't work for absolutely everyone. So make sure that it is a good fit before we get started, so that we're both setting ourselves up for success. Okay, so that's it for today. So I'll hand over to questions. So Roxy had already asked, so just type in the chat if there's something that you want me to cover, anything about the things that we've spoken about today, or if you want to cover, if you've got any questions about Naturally Healthy Club, or happy to take questions on anything. If you want to ask about my plant or my Indigofera, that's good too. Okay, so Roxy had said, how do I trust myself to change when I have tried and failed so many times before? And this is such a great question, Roxy. I'm glad that you asked that. So that's it for the presentation. So if you're free to go now, and we'll but I'm going to hang around and answer questions. So let's see. Roxy said, yeah, it's how do I trust myself to change when I've tried and failed so many times before? And saying, thank you. Yeah, awesome, Jack. Thank you. Yeah, so Roxy, like that's a really good question. And the thing is that, like, remember our Thomas Jefferson quote, like, you know, if you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. So even if you've tried and failed like so many times before, but like think about what you were doing those times that you failed. Like, what was the method that you were using? It was probably some sort of diet where you were restricting, and that's whenever we restrict, Roxy, like that always that doesn't work, like, because there's a part of, like, there's different types of hunger, and there's this thing called psychological hunger. So when we're restricting, we're actually building our desire for food. So, you know, if you're like telling yourself, I can't have carbs, like I'm going to be keto and I'm not having carbs, and all of a sudden you're thinking about bread and pasta all the time, like that's psychological hunger. So when you've tried and failed in the past, you were probably doing something that wasn't sustainable. And so, of course, that's why you failed. It wasn't because you were weak-willed. It was because you were probably restricting in some way, or you're counting calories, and that was building your psychological hunger. And so you can do that for, you know, a few months, or you can do it. Some people can, like, that have really strong willpower, can do it for like 6 months, but ultimately, like, you can't sustain that restriction for forever. And so that's when you fall off the wagon and you feel like you failed. So that's that, like, I think understanding why you failed in the past is really helpful, Roxy. And then, you know, not not following the same method in the future. So by trying a different approach, that gives you the confidence that you can, like, that this time will be different, because you're like, you're trying it from a different thing, and you're not going to, if you're not restricting, then you're not building up that psychological hunger. So, like, not a lot of people know about psychological hunger, but it is a real thing. So that's it. Like, using a different approach where you're not restricting is really key. And then also, Roxy, like, I think, you know, really understanding your mindset and, like, how your thoughts and your beliefs, and that self-belief piece, like how that plays into it, is really key as well. So in the past, if you hadn't, you know, you could be, if you're not looking at your thoughts and your beliefs, if you're not changing those at the same time that you're making the changes, that's another reason why you can fail, because you're not actually changing your self-concept, like how you see yourself. And so if you still see yourself as someone who struggles with food, who has a bad relationship with food, or, you know, that is failing, then if you don't change that that self-concept, you can diet and you can restrict for a while and get results, but it's not sustainable, because you still see yourself as someone who struggles. And so that ends up being what you do, is that you create ways for yourself to struggle. So that's why, like, when I work with people, most of it is actually more mindset stuff than food stuff. It's kind of crazy. Like, it's a combination of habits and mindset. So so that's really, really how you can build trust, is like by changing your self-concept and by trying a different approach, Roxy. So does that answer your question? Does that feel good? Yeah, great. Okay, awesome, great. Okay, Murphy's asked, what kind of things are not a good fit? That's a good question, Murphy. The thing that isn't a good fit really is whether someone's really ready to change. Like, so it's like whether if I sense that someone's like kind of wants to, but not really, like they're not really willing to, like, you know, give it a good like to commit to, like, doing the work, then that's really the main thing that isn't a good fit. Because, like, and you know yourself, like, sometimes you want something, but you're not really ready to make those changes yet. And that's really the number one thing that I look out for. yeah, and then everything else is fine. And also, like, I've sometimes said, come across like people with like mental health things that can like that can be a thing that's something that's on my mind as well, just making sure I have like that, like there's no like things that need medical attention. That can be another thing that isn't a good fit for coaching. So I like to screen for both of those things. Yeah, great question, Murphy. Okay, does anyone have any other questions? Another one that often comes up is like, how much time does it take if you're wanting to change your relationship with food? That's a common question I get asked. And I'm really mindful of, like, we're all busy, and like your relationship with food, yes, it's big, but it's only one part of your life. And so I've really designed the Naturally Healthy Club to be as efficient as possible. And I'm really mindful of my relationship with time as well. So the thing if you're willing to commit, like there's an exercise I get everyone to do that's like takes 5 minutes a day. So you need 5 minutes a day, and then we have like our weekly calls. So there's a weekly coaching call, and those are like I run them as for the next group. I'm going to run them as a 30-minute session, so it'll be 30 minutes a week, but they'll also be like, I'll be around for questions and coaching afterwards as well. So, but if you can commit like 30 minutes a week for the weekly call and 5 minutes a day for the daily practice, then that's it. Okay, bye, maybe. Irishman's just off to work. Excellent. Great. And another question that comes up is, people that struggle with emotional eating, like, do we do anything around that? And that is another piece of work that we do in the Naturally Healthy Club, is just like learning to handle our emotions in a naturally healthy way. So rather than using food to cope, finding other ways to soothe ourselves and to calm ourselves and to feel our feelings, instead of like always turning towards food. So that's another key thing that comes up. Okay, awesome, Sandra. Great. Well, we might wrap up there. So thank you everyone for attending live, really great. And yeah, if you want to join the Naturally Healthy Club, check out the link. And we're actually next group starts the 6/7th of Feb, and applications are open now, but they're closing next week on the 2nd of Feb. So have a beautiful day wherever you are, or a beautiful evening, and I will hopefully see you soon. Okay, bye everyone.